Segment 2, Nikud Shalosh, Nikud dalet. Ma'ata chafetz. Ma'ata chafetz. So, now you're able to identify objects with a little more detail using adjectives. Suppose your neighbor or friend were to come to you and inquire, Ma'ata chafetz. What is it that you want, or what do you find delight in? Now you're able to identify what you're interested in with a little bit more specificity. And in preparation for that conversation with your neighbor or classmate, please study this particular segment, and then you will be comfortable engaging in that conversation. First, become comfortable with the inquiries. If addressing a man, Ma ata chafetz? Ma ata chafetz? If addressing a woman, Ma at chafetza? Ma at chafetza? There are a couple of directions you can go with your reply. You can either indicate something which you do desire, or you could indicate something that you don't want. Let's go with something, first of all, that you do want. We're calling that the affirmative reply. Supposing it's a little king that you want, you would indicate that as follows. Melech katan ani chafetz. Or if you are a woman, your reply would take this shape. Melech katan ani chafetza. If, on the other hand, you wish to express that here is something you don't want, that would take the shape of what we're calling here the negative reply. In order to make things interesting, we're introducing a different object. Instead of melech katan, the object will be shem gadol, shem gadol.
If you are a man, you would respond, Eineni chafetz, shem gadol. Eineni chafetz, shem gadol. Or if you were a woman, you would respond, Eineni chafetza, shem gadol. Eineni chafetza, shem gadol.
In both of those response examples, melech katan and shem gadol, you'll notice they were expressed indefinitely, no definite article. If, on the other hand, you wish to point out a particular object that you're interested in and wish to specify it with a definite object, such as hatzaror hagadol, the big pouch, then it's more proper Hebrew expression to use that particle at the front of it. It would sound then as follows. Et hatzaror hagadol ani chafetz. As you engage this conversation, please feel free to follow up your neighbor's response with the further inquiry, lama? Lama. Now, you will probably need to respond using your native language, but at least this will uncover a bit more concerning your neighbor's motives in desiring this particular item. To this point, we've covered the basics. Ma'ata chafetz. This will elicit a response indicating what your neighbor wants, and your neighbor will respond with the object up front. Melech katan ani chafetz. This is the fundamental exchange. What follows next will add a deeper level of skill and sophistication. Don't feel that you are entirely responsible to master this portion, but it will instruct you in a correct expression, enabling you to do the following. Enabling you to say, I want this certain thing, and then describing it negatively. Take, for example, the first phrase that we find. Oniyah lo gedola ani chafetz. I want a not large ship. We might say a little more smoothly in English, I'd like a ship that's not very large. You can express that in Hebrew with this sentence. Once again, initially expressed as a man speaking, secondarily the feminine form. Oniyah lo gedola ani chafetz. Speaking as a woman, Oniyah lo gedola ani chafetza. Notice that this combination of lo plus adjective functions rather like a compound word. So that, for example, lo plus adjective tov, lo tov, is like a compound word, not good. Lo plus adjective gadol means not large. And lo plus the adjective chacham, meaning wise, well, we can see this in English as indeed a compound. Unwise, the negation of wise.
In the remainder of this segment, we'd like to take this same concept and explore a little more sophisticated way, a more nuanced way, to lay emphasis on one part of that same expression. So we're slightly departing from the base expression, onia lo gedolah, an unlarge ship, is basically how that translates. Ani chafetz, I want. Instead of saying that I want an unlarge ship, recognizing that's a very wooden translation of the Hebrew, if instead of that we wish to lay emphasis on the ship, that I need a ship, and as further information, that needs to be a small ship, there's a way that you can actually layer that meaning into your expression. You may say to yourself, this is getting pretty fine-tuned, rather sophisticated, and you're right. So bear in mind, with this level of sophistication, you're not expected to learn it now. Rather, the hope is that these little asides will build your appreciation for just how precise Hebrew can be. And here's one example of it. So then, if you wish to lay more emphasis on the fact that it's the ship that needs to be small, the trick would be to use ein to negate the noun ship, instead of using lo to negate the adjective gadol. In place of merely a quasi-compound word, which the lo plus adjective, lo gedolah, would produce, a compound word on the order of not large, unlarge, as we woodenly translate, if instead you use ein, it will create a virtual relative clause with the focus resting on the ship. Onia einena gedolah. Again, onia einena gedolah, which means a ship, it, or that, is not large. And then you would need to finish it off, ani chafetz. So notice in the table below, ein can appear with or without the relative pronoun, which is asher, that, or which, or who. It's the meaning of asher. So in the first example, ein will be used together with the pronominal suffix. That's why we have the form einena, literally not it, referring to the ship, third feminine singular. And so we have the corresponding expression, onia einena gedolah ani chafetz. I want a ship that is not large. Or more woodenly, I want a ship, it is not large. So here we see ein employed to negate, along with the pronominal suffix, which in Hebrew needs to connect back to the ship. This same concept can be expressed in a bit fuller form by actually employing the relative pronoun asher. And that would read, onia asher einena gedolah ani chafetz. I want a ship that is not large. Once again, it's not essential that you master this level of sophistication, but simply emerge from this discussion with the awareness that Hebrew has the capability of resting emphasis on particular portions, particular aspects of an expression. Here's one way it does that, with the negation of a trait. By the way, we've introduced asher, the relative pronoun, translated either which or that or who. We've introduced that now. We will encounter it a little more formally as a clear introduction in a later section. Shtaim Nikud Arba Nikud Aleph.